Okay, welcome back to my new Python tutorial. In this video, I would like to explain how if conditions are working. So if you know other programming languages like C++, for example, you know maybe what if conditions are or if statements. So in this case, the Python interpreter can decide if one thing is true or another thing, for example. So these are very important things which you have to know if you want to really do programming in the future. Then these are the things in combination with loops, with functions, and so on, what you will always need. So we will spend a little bit time in explaining all the possibilities in Python in a systematic way. And as usual, we directly go into the topic. So I created a new Python file, which I called conditions.py. And yeah, in the most simple case, we just create two variables. One I call maybe A, and I give it the value 5. And one I call B, and to this I assign a value of 3. And now with the naked eye, you can already see that A is larger than B or greater than B. But we also want to find a way how to tell Python to check whether one thing is true or the other. So A is larger than B or B is larger than A. So what we can do, we can use this if statement here and write if A, and then we can use this mathematical greater sign if A greater than B. Okay, and if our if statement is complete, then we can use this double dot or colon, how it's called, behind that, and go to a next line. And now this is very important and what I explained already in the beginning, and this is related to indent. So I said that indents are you can only use indents in specific situations, and this is one of them. So if you have an if condition and you want to create a block which is executed if this condition is true, then you have to make an indent of spaces or tabs. This is up to your choice. If you see here, Visual Studio Code is automatically creating spaces, and in this case 4, but you can also use maybe 2 or 8, or you can use directly tabs. The only important thing is that you are consistent. So when you put more things into that condition, all of the lines which you insert must have the same indent. And as soon as you break the indent and go back to the first column, then then you are outside of the if condition, of the scope of the if condition, basically. So now we are inside the if condition, and we write, for example, print, and then we can just give a string as an output. For example, condition fulfilled. So if you run now our program, then you see that after executing it, the sentence condition fulfilled is shown, which means that the condition is of course true. A is larger than B. And to test that this really works, we can also write here if A smaller than B and run the program. And now you will see that there's no output at all, which means that the condition is false. If we want to check whether one of the conditions is true, either A is larger or greater than B, or B is greater than A, we can create here another if statement and write here, for example, if A greater B, and then we can write here maybe condition 2 fulfilled, and here we can write condition 1 fulfilled. And when we execute that, you can see condition 2 is fulfilled, is shown here. And when we change that here maybe to from 3 to 5 and 5 to 3, and we run the program again, then you see condition 1 is fulfilled. So this is very simple, and I think with this small example, it's very easy to understand how if conditions are actually working. So if you understand that concept, then I think most of the things are clear already. So you could now also use it to write your own programs. But I would like to also give you a little bit more ideas of what you can do with if statements, because it's a very powerful thing in every programming language, as I said. So we can do many things with that. One thing is that in this case, we have here two complementary statements. So A can either be smaller than B or larger than B. We can also write here, for example, smaller or equal to B and greater. So one of these two conditions must be true. There's no other possibility. In this case, we don't have to insert a second if condition. We can also delete that and just simply write else. So if this is true, then condition 1 is fulfilled, or if this is not true, then automatically condition 2 is fulfilled. And in the same way, we can test that, and you see now condition 1 is fulfilled. And when I go back to the previous assignment, then we can run it again, and then you will see now condition 2 is fulfilled. So we have, as I said, 2 complementary statements. However, if you have more than 2 possible statements and you want to check every statement separately, you could also use another statement which is called else if. In some languages, or in Python, it's combined to elif. So now we could write, for example, elif a larger b. In this case, it's the same as else. It doesn't change anything, just because we have only these 2 options. But if we would have more options, then we can actually do it in such a way, and then we could also put many elif statements below that. For every condition which should be fulfilled, you can add one. And at the end, it's also, I think, important to really make sure that all conditions are taken into account. You can just finally put an else statement there. So if all your conditions are not fulfilled, at least what happens in else will be fulfilled, to make sure that your code is executing in the correct way. Now I also want to explain how you can create nested if conditions. This is a very important concept, and I think you will come to know about this in many programs that you maybe read. So let's suppose we create another variable c, and we assign the value of 15 maybe. Then again, we want to have the first condition should be a large or a greater b. Then we write here condition 1 is fulfilled. And then we can create inside this if condition another condition, which we call maybe, we can also make a line break in between, this is no problem, if c, and then we want to check if c is equal to the product of a and b, for example. So this double equal sign means that now we check the Boolean value of that. So if c is equal to a times b, then we want to print out another statement which we call maybe condition 2 fulfilled. And now we run the program, and you see both conditions are fulfilled, of course. The first one, a is larger than b. So this is true. And the second one, c is also 3 times 5. 15 is equal to 3 times 5. So condition 2 is also fulfilled, and both are fulfilled. So again, if we write here if a is smaller than b, or if we interchange these 2 values again, 3 and 5 for example, and we run the program, then you see no output at all, because the first if condition is already false, and the second one will not be executed at all. So Python does not even go into that scope actually. And the same result you can also obtain with the help of combined conditions. So you can use Boolean operators in order to check whether or a combination of if statements is true. So if I write, for example, if a larger b and c equal a times b, this is exactly the same what we have written before, but now we have it in one line actually. And now we also check both conditions simultaneously. So now we can write here, for example, conditions fulfilled. And if we run the program, you see no output. And if again we change here a and b and run it, then you can see now the output is conditions fulfilled, because both conditions are true. And this returns only a true value if a is larger than b and also c is equal to a times b. Both of them have to be true. So another possibility, instead of using and, you can also use or. So in this case, one of these 2 conditions have to be true, either this one or the other one. And if one of this is true, then the whole statement is true and the condition is fulfilled. So if we now again change a and b and we run the program, you see conditions fulfilled is written here, although the first condition is wrong, but the second one is true. So the statement itself is true and it shows conditions fulfilled. Another thing, just for the purpose of completeness, you can also replace the first sign, or the first equal sign here with an exclamation mark, and this means that now it turns this statement into the opposite. Yeah, so it means if C is not equal A times B. Yeah? So again, we can check that. So we write here and in this case we interchange these values again. So now we run the program, and now the output is again 0. Yeah, we don't receive any output because the first condition is true, but we know C is equal to A times B, so this condition is false, and then the whole overall condition is false. So if I change C, for example, to 14 and run that, then again condition is fulfilled because C is not equal to A times B. Okay, the last thing which I want to show is how to shorten everything a little bit. So in this case we have a block underneath the if condition. But in some cases, maybe you just can put everything in one line. Like in our case, we have only one thing which should be executed if the condition is true. So we don't have to use a block or an indent here in front. We can just put everything in one line. So we remove that part here, and we can write if A greater B, then just print condition fulfilled. Now, if we run now this program, you can see that the output is the same as before, but the only difference is that we didn't put this into a new line, we just put it in the same line, which is in this case possible. And the same thing we can also do with an else. So in this case, we can change it again. So we have to put our print command or the thing which we want to do in front of if, and then behind that our else. And then we can write here print condition not fulfilled, for example. And now we can run that, and you can see here it's written condition fulfilled. And if we interchange these values and run the program again, you can see condition not fulfilled. So the second part is taken into account. Yeah. So both things are possible. Yeah. So if you have longer blocks, then it's maybe easier to put it in separate rows. But if in this case, you have only one thing which should be done, then for the readability purpose, maybe it's better to put it in one line. But in this case, you are free to do this, and I don't want to give any recommendation what is better or worse. Okay, so in this case, this is everything which I want to explain in this video. I hope that you learned something new and you enjoyed it. Again, the same what I said last time is still true. Just play around with that and try to find different kind of conditions that you want to test or to see whether they are fulfilled or not, and insert maybe some more statements. Just try maybe some variable assignment inside an if condition, and then everything gets a little bit more familiar, I think, when we talk next time about loops, because then we can use these if conditions in a much better way. Okay, so then in this case I want to close the video now. If you liked it, please hit the like button. Please subscribe my channel if you have not done so far, and hopefully see you then very soon for the next video.